Hey, it's Drybear. And we were just 4 days away from the launch of Path of Exile 2 0.3, the third major content update in Path of Exile 2. However, it is a doozy. The patch notes are massive. We've been going over all the different details of the update, but what I wanted to do for a lot of people that are confused out there is start splitting out the major changes into their own videos so they are their own topics. So today, what I want to focus on is the new trade system coming into Path of Exile 2, what you can know and do about your stash tabs now and how it will work, as well as how that system will function and integrate into the game moving forward, as well as the developers' thoughts on what they want to do with it in the future once they get more time or more updates. Now, at the very start of the video, I want to get this disclaimer out of the way. They will be offering a way to convert your normal premium stash tabs that you own now into the merchant tabs, which will be the new functionality for their trade system going forward. However, this doesn't include premium quad tabs, and this will only go live the day of the patch. So this weekend, this Friday, the 29th, when this goes live, you'll be able to convert any of your stash tabs that you had bought prior to the merchant tabs going live. You'll be able to convert all of those premium stash tabs into merchant tabs that you can use. And you will need a merchant tab to do the new trading system. The old trading system is staying in place, but for the veterans that just want the quick and dirty info, you have to wait until Friday for this to go live. This screen will be up on the website once this goes live, which will allow you to convert normal premium tabs into merchant tabs. The premium quad tabs have been confirmed to not convert, which can be confirmed here by the devs responding to this one. So the question was, will quad tabs be able to be converted for the premium quad tabs? The answer is no. Only normal premium stash tab purchases will be convertible into the merchant tabs, and only if they were purchased prior to 0.3 going live. So with that disclaimer out of the way, for the rest of the people, if you're brand new to Path of Exile or don't know what I'm talking about, let's dive into what the new trading system is, why it's interesting and cool, and what you need to know about it going into the patch. A quick refresher for people that are brand new to the game or are returning to the game after a long break. This is how the trade system currently works and has worked in Path of Exile for a very long time. You get an item or a piece of gear or a currency that you want to trade. So let's bring out like 2 of these, right? Let's bring out like 1 currency item, and then let's get, this is like all my old stuff from last season, but we can just put this stuff here. So you get an item that you want to sell to another player. The way this works currently is you need to go online and log into the trade website. They actually have a full website for trade online. You'll be doing this after the patch as well, but both systems will exist simultaneously. The website looks like this. Once you're logged in, either through Steam or Path of Exile or whatever it is you want to do, once you're logged in and verified, you are now logged in. You can see that I have like my name in the top left, messages, whatever, it tells you everything is there. You will then be able to browse items that others have put up for sale on the website, and it shows whether they're online, how long it was ago since they listed this. This guy put this up 2 months ago was the option there. So you kind of find these items, you can kind of click through them and do all of that stuff. There is a version of the website for Path of Exile 1, and there's a version of the website for Path of Exile 2 as well. So check the URL and make sure at the top you see how it says the Path of Exile 2 logo versus Path of Exile 1. We were just on Path of Exile 1. This is where you're going to find items to buy. And the way it currently works is a real-time synchronous trade. And what that means is both parties need to be active and present to make the trade complete. So if you want to buy something from here, you will literally just log into the website. Once you're fully logged in and verified, everything should work automatically. And the system itself, from a functional level, actually works quite well. So you used to have to be able to just copy this message directly. However, in order to make it work for consoles, they made it so that when you hit this direct whisper button, once you hit this button and we go in game, we're going to harass this guy real quick. We're going to jump in game. You can see that it actually sends out a message. It messages that person, it links the item, it tells them the price and where in their stash it's located so that they can find it. And then if they want to sell it to you, they will send you an invite. You'll join their party, travel to their hideout. They have to go to their hideout, grab the item, pull it out of their stash, go up to you, start the trade. You accept the trade, then they move the item in, and then you verify and trade. That's how it's always been, and that's what we mean by synchronous or real time. Both parties are present, actively engaged, and they make the trade. However, that has a whole bunch of flaws that come along with it as well. For example, what if they're not there, right? So what if they're in the middle of a map playing the game and they can't be bothered to leave the map because they're busy actually playing instead of trying to play merchant or vendor in that general? So they have that time limit there. But you also have people that, you know, that's like the first problem. The second problem is you have people that are just generally AFK. They leave their game open overnight. They don't respond. You send a message after message after message. They never respond. They don't, you know, you never get the trade done. You can say, okay, this person's out. So you go to the next person, you click on it. They don't respond. You click the next person. They don't respond. And you just keep clicking and clicking and clicking and clicking. And sometimes it takes you all night just to get a couple items traded because the players aren't responding to you. So that's the second problem that comes with it. And the third problem that comes with it is all of the more nefarious or wicked attempts at the game in general. So there are people that will put an item up for a certain price. When they get too many responses back, they use that as an indicator, a barometer to say that they've underpriced the item. So they pull the item off that price, you know, quadruple the price, put it back up. If they keep getting messages, they pull it off again, they double it again, and then they put it back up on and they keep doing that until they only get 1 or 2 responses, and they're like, okay, this must be the right price, and they finally sell it. But that has the same problem of you whisper at people and they don't respond. You whisper at people, and sometimes then all of a sudden the item you just looked at is now twice the price that it was before. So you whisper them again, you're like, okay, that's fine, I'll buy it. And then they say, oh, well, you'll buy it. That means the price isn't high enough. So they double it again, and you're like, okay, fine, just give me the item. And then they double it again. It's like, okay, I don't want it. And then they don't trade it to you. So it's just this whole process of it relies too much on human interaction. And that's the major problem with the system as it stands right now. Now, moving on to the actual implementation of how you trade right now, because this is important for understanding how it's going to work in the future. So if you go to your stash, you will need a premium tab currently to interact with the trade system, which means it is a paid interaction. So right now there is actually a stash tab sale going on the website. Keep in mind that pretty much anything that you buy in Path of Exile 2 is applicable to Path of Exile 1 and vice versa. There's some edge cases, things that are only existing in Path of Exile 1 until they port it over, and some things that only exist in PoE 2 that they're going to port over eventually, but just keep that in mind. However, in order to trade right now, you will need to buy premium tabs on the site or in the store in order to unlock trades. So we scroll down here, we can upgrade a tab to a premium tab. There's also premium quad tabs, which is important to distinguish. So you can see that you have the premium tab and the quad tab. The premium tabs look like this. They are normal. You can see based on the grid of the items, this is how big the premium tab is. When you go to the quad tab, it's exactly what you think it is. If you look at the icons, look at this box right here, and then we click up, you'll notice where that box is. There's now 4 boxes. Quad equals 4, so there's 4 times more space. However, as we mentioned earlier, premium quad tabs will not be converted into merchant tabs, and we also may not be even getting premium merchant tabs after the transition as well. I recommend getting stash tabs only when there's a sale. There's usually one every single month on like one of the weekends. They'll do a couple-day sale. We're in the middle of one right now. It's ending in 5 hours at the making of this video. So by the time you check, it might already be over. But keep in mind that this is here, and you can probably just wait for the next one if you're looking for it, unless you're just looking to trade in 0.3 and you haven't done that in general. So these premium tabs allow you to do it. When you go to the premium tabs, you can put an item into the premium tab, and then you can set a price for it. You can negotiate, you want whatever else on this, you hit this up. That's the price that's on it now, and now people can find it on the website. It's all linked up to the website and ready to go. However, once that transition happens, so once this new trade system goes live, we now have the option to do the previous trade system, which we just talked about. However, you will also be able to use the new asynchronous trade system, which is quite simple. You finish Act 4, you unlock a new NPC, you can invite that NPC into your hideout, and that NPC serves as a bazaar/merchant for you. And you will do it the same way. You will purchase merchant tabs, or after the launch of the patch, you can convert your normal premium tabs into merchant tabs. Then you can place items into the merchant tab just like you normally would with the premium tabs, and then this merchant will just sit in your hideout 24/7 all the time. Players can then travel to this merchant and buy from it as if it were a normal vendor. You will set the price on the item, put it in your merchant tab, people can come to your hideout and then just buy the item for the exact price that you put it on. You can be in a map, you can be offline, you can be anywhere else, you can be eating dinner or doing whatever else that you want to do, and your merchant is still holding those wares and managing transactions for people that can come to your hideout to actually buy those and get those ready. Now, there are some limitations to this. Anything that goes into the currency exchange will not be available to the merchant. You can't sell currency. So exalted orbs, divine orbs, jeweler orbs, anything that's considered currency does not go into the shop. So the question then is, what's in the shop? Anything that doesn't go on the currency exchange that can be traded to other players, so non-quest items, you can then put into the shop. And then just as you see, you put on it, you put a price on it, then while you're doing whatever, people can message you inside of it, and then boom, they'll be transported to your hideout. You can then have the item purchased from the merchant, and then as soon as the purchase is complete, the currency will show up in your earnings tab on the merchant itself. Now, from what they've shown us, it doesn't seem like you can actually put an entire tab price on something like you can with the premium tabs. However, it does auto-complete whatever currency you used last on your last item. And they do want you to be deliberate with this. They don't want the, I'm going to put it up for 1 exalt, and when too many people message me, I'm going to raise it, and then keep doing that until it gets to 21.5 exalt, and then I sell it. Like, as soon as you put it up on the merchant, it is then available on the website. People can grab it, teleport directly to your hideout. It should auto path you to the merchant as well. So for people on console, this just got even easier. It should immediately teleport you to that hideout, go to the merchant, and then you can go buy the item. And there's also a cooldown from you taking items out of the merchant. So once it's in there, if people buy it right away, there's nothing you can do to stop that, right? And they're trying to prevent people from doing that whole mini game where they try to put things up and waste people's time by trying to figure out what price they're going to put. And with this, Angie is becoming both currency exchange and the merchant shop as well, which means you can go to her and trade your currency to get new currency. You can go to her and sell items on your merchant tabs and collect the currency that you've earned already. But this is a huge win for the game because it means that you can now sell your medium to low tier items that you just want to, you know, get rid of and start flowing through without having to stop constantly to go back to your hideout, trade with someone, get the items, risk getting scammed, and then go back out. I still think there will be some value in having the bartering, like, open trade system. There's going to be some items that you feel like are just going to be like way too freaking good, and you just want to put it up there and haggle with people. Maybe you still want to do that whole process where, like, you set a price, you put a negotiable price on it, and you want, I don't know, I want 450 mirrors of Calandra. And someone's going to look at that and say, you're absolutely nuts. Here's this instead, right? And you want to barter with it a little bit. And I think the old trace system will probably be good for that. But for the majority of people, you can see that I have a any shop on my tabs. This is a tab that I just put things that I want to price in manually. And then I have a whole bunch of buyout shops that I just kind of move items through so I can quickly get through the junk that isn't really worth all that much, but it'll add up over time. So you want to put a couple 10 exalt items, a couple 20 exalt items, and just slap them in there. And as people roll through and buy them, if they don't last long enough on this, you can just grab this and put it on the next one. Put this down here, maybe it's worth 20 instead of 25. But all the low items, I don't want to think too hard on it. I just want to get these going. And basically the merchant tabs will replace all of these low level vendors, like the stuff they don't manually price. I'm not talking about like your perfect god rolled items. You just take the items that are like kind of okay, or at least interesting, throw them in there, and they'll be able to move through the merchant tab now. Next, what's worth mentioning is they wanted to have some kind of attrition on the trading system in general. The attrition on the existing system is convenience, right? It's the fact that you have to put an item up, price it, wait for someone to find your item on the website, message you, teleport to you, you meet them, grab the item, exchange the item, get your currency, right? The fact that it's such a headache and such a pain, you know, keeps that kind of attrition high, so people aren't just using the system to make ridiculous amounts of money all the time. So they wanted to have some attrition system on that. And then what they're doing for attrition as a forcing function for the new system is anything bought through the merchant will also come with a gold price. Now with this, they mentioned that they did some reworks on the gold price of items. They also brought up the gold price on unique items in the game. So if you go to sell unique items to vendors, they will have a higher gold price inherently because they fixed that across the game. But what you're going to have to do here is you're going to have to farm enough gold to buy these. They said that the amount of gold required is, like, to buy a good rare, they said it's about a map's worth of gold, so not that much gold. From the footage they've shown us, the gold ranges between like 500 gold to a couple thousand for a single purchase. It could be that buying these, if they're a much higher, you see the fee here for this 20 chaos unique is 5,600 gold. It's not a crazy amount, and I think it's actually quite fair compared to things, but you see this rare requires 16,000. So, if this really can start to add up a lot of ways, like if you're trying to buy these, the amount of gold you need to farm to get them is going to add up if you're buying full sets of gear. But I think as you progress, it's going to feel really natural, and none of the prices really concern me all that much.
And that's part of the reason why we need the gold costs to kind of offset that, because that will potentially drive down prices in some cases. So you need something that's kind of a barrier so that people aren't like buying things too easily. But at the same time, what I'll say about this is that, so the gold costs are there for that. One of the other big really important things with the gold costs is it means that it doesn't screw your progression up too much as you're going through the game. So effectively you've still, as you're first, going through your first experience, the prices have a bit of a floor, so that, like when you're in like Act 3 or something, like, yeah, you can afford stuff, but you can't necessarily just buy a whole set of gear like out of nowhere, that kind of thing. So that's kind of important. And then the other thing as well is it stops any kind of, well, maybe not completely stops, but the hope is that it'll stop botting of like, high frequency trading, that kind of thing, because, that in order to be able to flip items, you would need to run maps to actually get gold, right? Because you can't get any other way. So effectively what that means is that you can, it's going to prevent that kind of thing from being an issue too. So the hope is that this should be a situation where we don't get like catastrophic hyperinflation or something annoying like that. And if we can achieve that, that'll be really good. We did pitch the gold prices on the high end to start with, because we're a bit afraid if it turns out everything's fine, we can lower them down a little bit, but they'll be a little bit high to start, just because we're a bit afraid, and we don't really want to have to jack them up after they're like when they were low. So
you said this, that they were pitched on the high end, but then when I ask you about how much gold it actually costs to buy something, like what amount of gold does it cost in terms of time or maps?
The discussion was that buying a rare should cost you about 1 map worth of gold.
That's like, seems like nothing to me. That doesn't seem that high. Like,
I mean, like it's
you
enough
end up with a lot of gold.
it's a lot for a botter, but it's
well,
not
exactly,
much for
right?
a player,
It's a lot for a botter.
That's the thing. Yeah, sounds perfect.
So they want you to have to actually play the game before you can start buying things on the automated asynchronous trade tab. It will be a bit of a barrier for new players that don't play fast enough or earn enough gold in the very beginning, and it means that while you're leveling, you can buy from other players' stash tabs and merchant tabs to get those items. It just will incur some of your gold. The prices here don't blow my mind. Like some of these dropping up to 20k, 30k, that sort of thing. If the item is really good, and I'm guaranteeing that there's gonna be some items that are priced too low based on what their actual value is in game, and there's gonna be some items that are priced too high for the amount of gold that you get. But just keep in mind that is it there, and I think it's a worthy contribution, because you can't buy gold, you can't trade gold. It is completely locked to your character, and the only real way to get large amounts of gold is playing the actual game, which means that botters and ne'er-do-wells and ruffians will have to actually put time into the game to play, and there are actually protections and anti-cheats in there to catch people that are botting when playing. So the bots that sell and trade will have to actually play, which means that increases their likelihood of getting caught in the first place. So that's kind of like the big thing about that, is you have to be aware that there is going to be a gold cost for the merchant tab. However, again, for the bartering, synchronous trade premium tab version, that will still be there, and those don't require gold to trade. That system is still going to be part of the game. The next thing that's worth talking about is the changes to the amount of players in your hideout and how it categorizes those players. Because obviously, if you have an asynchronous trade, offline trade system that automatically teleports random players to your hideout and walks them over to your merchant to buy things, it means that inherently, just because the system is easier to use, that the number of players in your hideout is going to go up relative to how many items you have on your merchant tab that people actually want to buy. So they've made a change to the hideout. They actually made it so you can go up to 24 players in your hideout now, pretty large. And they also did it a step further, which I think was a very smart change that they made in advance. They made it so that you and your party members are treated differently than the strangers in your hideout. So there is a minimum requirement for you and your party, so up to 4 players, but you will always have a spot in your own hideout. This is to prevent you from going into a map and then 24 players fill up in your hideout while you're in the map, and then you exit the map and then you get trapped and you're stuck and you can't do anything. So they made it so that you will always have a permanent allocation for your slot in your own hideout, and they also made it so your party members do as well. So your normal gameplay will be uninterrupted by the comings and goings of street walkers that want to come and buy your items, and they will have their own slots that they can build up to it. I think it's a combined total of up to 24. So it's kind of cool. You'll actually see people popping in and out. Now, we'll talk about this in a different video, I think, but there was an engine level rewrite that they did with 0.3 that they said is going to improve loading times, which will show up inside of loading towards going into someone's hideout, some improvements for handling how people phase in and out of your hideout as they leave, and just kind of improvements on how that flow overall works. They also did mention that it is a race to get the item. There's no, can't reserve an item or anything like that. Whoever buys it first gets it, and then the item is gone. And at the end of an interview, they did actually mention that they do want to have an in-game shop eventually. This is something that we've wanted in Path of Exile for a very long time, especially if you're playing on console. It makes a lot more sense than having to like try and open a website on a different device and then log in and then click on something. Like having it all integrated, especially for an integrated system like Microsoft or Sony's platform for their console, it makes a lot more sense. So a lot of times they've said they don't want an in-game marketplace, they don't want asynchronous trade, any of this stuff. With this patch, they're caving on asynchronous trade, but they also had this to say about having it in long term.
So that's something that we really want, and we even had a prototype of this.
I saw it.
Yeah. So it's a thing that we are working on, but unfortunately didn't quite make it for 030. There's some stuff we want to do. I am personally still a believer in that the website's going to be a better experience because, like, the typing, like
web
stuff is sort of designed for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when you click the button on the website, your character in game still moves. So, like, if that's a thing. But on the other hand, for discoverability for new players and that kind of stuff, it is good to have something in game.
Console.
And well, here's the thing. I reckon for console, it's still better to use the website because you can use your phone and you can search for stuff on your phone.
I suspect
like, a console controller, typing text with a console controller is just fundamentally crap, right? So like typing with a phone is just easier.
Often you don't have to type anything in text in these searches.
It's true. But look, we are going to do it. It's just that like it isn't quite
There's
done.
a bit of each to their own as well.
Sure.
A lot of people are very excited about the idea of an in-game one, and
it is a feature that we will do.
It
is a feature we will do. We just haven't.
It's in progress and it's close.
Yeah.
So straight from the horse's mouth, they do want to have an in-game, which I think that's going to take the experience to a brand new level. Obviously, you can see that there's some internal dialogue, especially between the two game directors, on what they want to do and how they want to do it. Jonathan thinks that typing on consoles is bad, though he is right on that from a general sense. Though I think Mark is also right that when these systems are built right, even on a console setting, you don't really have to type that much. You can sort by category, do drop downs or targeted, limited window searches. And you can make so you can find what you're looking for very easily without ever typing a single letter, just by sorting and organizing and looking for what you want, as long as the UI and user experience is quite good. So I think all around, this is big. This has been a system that they've been very hesitant to put in for the last decade or so. We've been on, synchronous in-person trade for Path of Exile 1 and for Path of Exile 2, and a lot of people had major concerns about just getting stuck, not being able to trade, people ignoring you, they don't respond when you message them, they change the price, and the whole thing it leads to a crappy experience that's not fun at the end of the day. This is going to be way easier, but you will need to buy merchant tabs. I don't want to make sure that people are aware that the merchant tabs themselves, you can convert the normal premium tabs into merchant tabs starting with the launch of the patch this Friday. So let me know what you think about the new trade system and what your plans are for the launch of .3 down below in the comments. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.